Zingozi, zingoza, oh zingozia, oh eh, oh zingozi, oh zingozia,
Welcome, everybody, to the Thoughts of an Empath podcast. It's your host, Steve Saint-vil. It's a blessing and an honor to be here with you guys today. As always, first and foremost, gotta show love to God. You know how we do things. Gotta show love to God. We have that spirit of gratitude around here, and so we give thanks. Next, gotta show love to the album of the episode, Nico and Vin's Black Star Elephant. I'm sure y'all gonna recognize the song that's coming on right now. It's a very popular song that came out not too long ago, but the entire body of work was definitely meaningful for me, and so I just wanted to share that with you guys and encourage you guys to go show some love to that. Before we get into the episode, I want to do some quick promo. Be sure to connect with us on Instagram at Empath Nonprofit. This is the best way to keep in touch with everything that we got going on as far as Thoughts of an Empath, whether it's Open Lounge, we're working on getting book club going, and we also have a link tree that'll give you direct access to all these things so you'll know where to go whenever we got something going on. If you'd like to tap in with me on a personal level, my Instagram is at globally_Steve. And I also have a separate link tree as well where you can see everything I'm doing outside of Thoughts of an Empath. Because, got a couple projects cooking. And there you can also get yourself some DV merch, Dangerously Vulnerable. Make sure you go support the clothing brand. I appreciate y'all in advance. And I just want to let you guys know that life is grand. For real, life is grand. And no matter what you're going through, no matter what you may be struggling with, as long as you have an attitude of gratitude, you'll be able to recognize that life is grand, and it'll help push you forward in whatever you're working towards. So the premise of the episode was inspired by an IG story album that I saw, and it asked, what are you proud of? And it really made me start to reflect on, what am I proud of? And definitely these past 3 years specifically have been life-changing as far as my experience. And what I want to do is just let the people inside and share what happened in hopes of inspiring somebody to reflect on the question itself, what are you proud of? But then take it a bit further and encourage you guys to share your story. Whether you share it in the comments below this video or you create your own platform, I definitely encourage you guys to share your story. And if you have your own platform, please send me those links, send me the names, whatever, so I can show some love and support to you guys, because I'm very grateful for the love and support that y'all showing me. So back in 2018, I had made some very major life decisions, and some of them were real head scratches at the time. The first thing I did was get off of social media. And I'm 29 right now, so I really grew up in the age of social media from its beginnings, from like the MySpace days. And when I really thought about it, this was the very first time that I took any extended time away from social media. So that was a really big thing for me. The next thing I did was I decided to quit my job cold turkey. That was one of those head scratcher things, To keep a long story short, I really wasn't fulfilled at the job. I felt like there was just a lot of things that I didn't agree with spiritually as far as the structure of work. And yeah, I just had to break out. And then the next thing that I did was I left my relationship. Another big head scratcher for a lot of people, because, my ex, the woman that I was with at that time, she didn't do nothing wrong. Like, it wasn't like it was a bad relationship. It was just, the best way I could describe it, it was shallow. It was a shallow relationship on both ends, So it was something that, I just felt in my spirit I had to step away from. And ironically, at that time, I genuinely felt like I had everything I ever wanted out of life. I had the growing online presence. I had the stable job. I had the girl. I had the car. You know what I'm saying? My Infiniti G35 was the exact car that I had wanted. Her name is Marceline. Oh, I loved her so much. I actually recently sold her. And the beautiful thing about that is I actually sold her to someone that is close, that I have access to. So, she's not too far away. And I'm able to, keep in touch. But how also at that time, I was just really beginning my self-awareness journey. So not so coincidentally, the foundations of all of these things that I held value in were starting to shake. Like, just everything was just feeling off. And it really made me question, is this what I wanted? So after a period of reflection, I made my decisions. But don't get me wrong, I sought advice. I sought counsel. I tried to do things the right way, you know? Like, for example, with my job, I was even willing to take a massive pay cut just to get into a job that was more into my field that I studied. I studied marketing in school, and nothing just went through. Like, I went on interviews, never got any jobs. And after a while, I began to realize that this was not going to be an easy transition for me. And it was either I jump or I get stuck. So for the very first time after I decided to jump, I had the freedom to decide what to do with every hour, minute, and moment of my time. And honestly, the first thing I did was catch up on a lot of rest. Not just sleep, like rest. For like the first 2 weeks, I just binged Game of Thrones. I stayed home and just binged Game of Thrones. And it felt great because that's just something that I wanted to do at that time. And then after that, a month after that, December, mind you, all of these decisions, they happened within a 3-month span. September, October, November, I left all of those things. And then December, I started and released the very first episode of this podcast. Now, in 2019, I used my newfound time to study. Honestly, I studied history. I began to read the Bible a lot for my own understanding. And I'll talk about this a lot in other episodes. And I was developing the podcast and the idea I had for a marketing business. And the next big thing that I did was I volunteered. To this day, that is one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever committed my time to. I volunteered. There was a local organization, and it all just worked out really crazy because it was as I have new time. A close family friend, I just randomly saw him at a funeral, and he asked me, "Yo, bro, what's your schedule like?" I'm like, "Well, I don't got a job now. I got nothing but free time." And he had started an organization that mentors 6th and 7th graders at my old middle school. So it just worked out perfectly. And I was like, I bet I'm going to get involved with this. So I'm going through these things, but to friends and family and my peers, it was as if this wasn't a real smart use of my time per se. And I started getting the questions and I started getting the looks like, what are you going to do about a job? How are you going to pay your bills and all these kind of things? So I was able to kind of keep them at bay with, the idea for the business and things like that. But I did need to start thinking about an income. So what I started doing food deliveries for DoorDash. I eventually got my first marketing client, which was the church that I was attending at that time. I would do small favors for, friends and families, then they would end up blessing me. So, I would have a little bit of money coming in. And one of the best things that I love telling the story about was with that mentorship program that I was volunteering with. The program had expanded into a new district. And when they expanded, I was chosen to be the program director of that new district. So I was now running the program and now setting up, the projects and the things to do with the kids. And it was a paid position. So everything just started to come together in a way where it's just like, yo, and this is one of the biggest things that I always want to tell people is to follow your passions and your purpose. Please follow your passions and your purpose because the money will gravitate when you do that. That's the way life works. That's the way the universe works. As you put out the energy that, yo, I want to do things that are meaningful and not just for the money. You know what I'm saying? God already knows you're going to need money, but because you're doing things for the love, he's going to send you the money that you need. You know what I'm saying? So I always tell people, like, follow your passions and your purpose. So things were moving pretty smoothly. And then I got a very big shakeup in September of 2019. I got news that I was going to be a dad. And while genuinely I was ecstatic because throughout 2019, a reoccurring theme as I was learning so much new things was, yo, I can't wait to teach my children these things. And I was really thinking about what kind of dad I want to be and what kind of, leader I want to be within a household. But there was a level of accountability that I had to take because it was not a righteous situation. The way my daughter came about was not righteous at its core. You know what I'm saying? And it was a situation that I had created through my indecisiveness. So I was served my instant justice. And the situation around the pregnancy itself, began to turn sour. And there was a lot of negative energy around that situation. So that translated into 2020. The environment, remained relatively negative and sour. And it even made me struggle with the question of, am I going to be able to have the relationship with my daughter that I desire? Like, that was a serious question that I was struggling with at that time. And it just really weighed heavy. But then I also began to question my religious roots. As you guys know, in past episodes, I grew up in the Christian church, Haitian Christian church. And I really started to question a lot of the things that was going on because I was observing traditional church practices, and then I was comparing that with the spiritual practices that I was now learning through my newfound knowledge and observations. And I found a lot of conflicts between these things. And as I became more vocal about these conflicts, a lot of people within that community, and mind you, this is a community that I grew up in, they began to look at me as if I had lost my way or even worse, my sanity on some real shit. However, throughout all of that, I genuinely felt like 2020 was going to be a year of prosperity. In the midst of all of that, I got my second marketing client. And the story behind getting that marketing client was another testimony to following your passions and your creativities and your passions. Because I started volunteering at another local school as a business mentor with high school students. It's a tech school. And I met the owner of that business through that, and we connected. And later down the line, we were able to ink out a contract where I was now running their social media. The relationship with the students that I was mentoring was really starting to pick up, because like with anybody, these kids, they needed to trust you before they just followed you or listened to you. And it was obvious to me that they were raised in an environment where there wasn't much love, and they were dying for it. You know what I'm saying? It showed in their actions. It showed in the way they spoke to each other. And then when I started to really grow that relationship, they were opening up to me. They were telling me about the stuff that's going on at home. They were telling me about their personal experiences. And it gave me the opportunity to kind of just sit back and just take it all in and be like, yo, these kids are trusting me. And so I want to put myself in a position where I can give them something of value moving forward. Next, I came up with the core idea for Open Lounge. As you guys know, Thoughts of an Empath, the whole idea behind it is creating a space for healthy conversation. And when I originally started the idea, it was in person. I had the idea of holding in-person meetings. So I was going out to local venues and, talking with people, getting an idea of how I would be able to use their venues, the price point. So I was growing that vision little by little. A lot of things were really starting to come together despite a lot of other things kind of being shaky and falling apart. And then COVID. But as the year did develop on reflecting on the year in total, it did turn out to be that year of prosperity that I envisioned it to be. First thing first, on Friday, March 13th, 2020, my daughter, Kalani Andrea, was born healthy and strong. And that, it was so beautiful because I was so grateful to actually be in the room when she was born. And that's something that I can't thank God enough for, honestly. Next, I began to... Oh, before I even go into what happened next, with the birth of my daughter, it really created a context for me and her mother to start building a foundation of true friendship. And that is something that, we were building to this day, and I'm entirely grateful for, like, beyond measure, because not only do I have a relationship with my daughter, but I have a relationship with her mother as well, where, we can express how much we care about each other, and we can, really become friends. Because I've known this girl for 10 plus years, and it really showed me that, we never had that before. So for us to now be able to have a space where we're building on that, it was something that I'm entirely grateful for. My marketing business started to, slow down. However, I qualify for unemployment. Thank God. Don't worry, I paid my taxes. The IRS don't need to come after me. But that allowed me to pay my bills. It allowed me to, pay for expenses. It allowed me to pay down some credit, register my business, travel, invest. It just gave me a level of financial stability. You know what I'm saying? Especially it's mid-COVID. Like, everybody's panicking on how we gonna be able to move forward with our finances. So I'm entirely grateful because it just worked out that way. I was able to then revive the vision for Open Lounge because, again, I was originally planning on having it as a in-person kind of thing, but then COVID comes around, everything's locked down. So I shelved that project. But down the line, I really just got like a kick in the ass. Honestly, I that's the best way I can describe it. God was like, yo, there's a way for you to do this if you truly are serious about it. And so I revived the vision for Open Lounge, and then I was able to hold my very first discussion group. So little by little, my core foundations began to materialize. And then I hit a checkpoint in August. I made a whole episode on what a checkpoint is and that specific checkpoint itself. So you definitely can go back and check that out if you want like deeper context. But I reached a level of understanding within myself that helped me shed a lot of fear that I had. And it signaled the growth of my wings and the breaking away from my cocoon. Like, while all of this is happening, 2020 was the year that I was within my cocoon. And the whole idea of being in the cocoon like a caterpillar is for you to go through that transformation and grow your wings. That checkpoint really signaled to me like, yo, your wings are growing and you're breaking out. And a few months later, in October of 2020, I was blessed to be able to travel to Dubai. And that was the very first experience where I was able to spread my wings and fly. So I'm beyond grateful for that experience. And then life continued to align in a way that allowed me to continue to fly, which carried into 2021. And one of the biggest decisions that I made at that time was to step away from religion. Again, I made another podcast episode on that. What am I, human? Explaining my whole journey down that road and what influenced me to step away and not claim a religion at all. So 2021 really represented for me the reaping of the harvest. And it was the first reaping, which is always the hardest. It was like all the decisions that I had made in the years prior just shaped what I was able to experience at that present moment. Walking away from those things in 2018 allowed me not to just control my time, but to explore the different avenues that my spirit was pulling me towards, which led to new business clients, which led to more creative projects, which led to more travel destinations. And the beautiful thing about this reaping, it also created the opportunity for me to reinvest. So now moving forward, I'm reaping and sowing simultaneously. And that creates a cycle where I can now live without fear. I can live life full of faith. And as one of my very close friends says, I'm now able to see God in real time. So gratitude is the only word that I can use to fully express how I feel about that experience from 2018 all the way to today. It's allowed me to become a very rich man spiritually. And having control of your time, like, I don't think y'all understand how real that is. Like, if I'm currently right now, as I'm recording this, I'm in Seattle, Washington. I didn't have to ask a boss or a manager for paid time off to now make this trip. It's something that I was able to just do off the strength of my freedom. Period. So as I look back and I reflect on these years, I'm genuinely proud as fuck of me. I'm proud of my faith. I'm proud of my endurance. Because a lot of the things that people don't see from the outside looking in is that throughout every step of the process, I was fighting for my sanity. Real shit. While being challenged to continuously grow a vision that many of the people around me don't believe in. They didn't understand it. And that allowed me to build a personal relationship with God that extended to depths that I had never experienced before. So I want to leave y'all with some closing encouragement. First and foremost, reflect on the question itself. What are you proud of? Like, for real, take some time to yourself, away from social media, away from other people, and sit and think, yo, what are you proud of? Because it's through reflecting on that question that I came to understand I'm a living testimony, yo, of what it means to stay faithful to God, to myself, to the vision. And there's a paper trail of that. You can go back to my very first podcast episode all the way to this one, and you can see the decisions and the experiences that I had that led me to be the person that I am today. Next, I want to encourage you guys, please, please, please share your story. Whether it be in the comments under this video or through your own personal platform. And if you have a platform, reach out to me because I want to show you some love and support. Because I'm beyond grateful for the love and support that I've been receiving. And lastly, I want to encourage you guys to maintain a culture of love. And that's something I came to really understand during my time out here. The first night I got here in Seattle, I was looking for food. It was late night. I end up at a bar. And a random homie just pulls up on me and we just start chopping it up. And then he asked me, like, yo, what's your culture? And it was a weird question. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm Haitian. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe the food, the language, stuff like that. But as we continued to talk, it made me think deeper. And it was like, yo, I came to understand my culture is love. And that's what I want to put out. Because I've seen love go so far. He showed me that love. And I was able to show him that love in return. And with the beautiful technology that we have today, we're able to stay in touch. So with that being said, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share. Make sure you cop yourself some DV merch. And I pray that y'all have a beautiful day.